So I did a short about how I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but I did plan on making a real video about this um, because there is a lot that goes into it. I didn't just one day wake up and thought I have fibromyalgia. I didn't go to a doctor one day, complain about pain, and was told that either. I was in a car accident in 2003, and I had gone and gotten MRIs done and x-rays done and all this stuff. And they were all different things like disc bulging in the cervical and in the lumbar, and I was always in pain with my neck that would go into my shoulders and then my back. Like, these were where I would call like the bullseyes. Like, that's where the pain was coming from. So nothing occurred to me that it would be anything else, because as far as I understood in my brain, I was in a car accident and that is what caused these things to hurt, and that is why I am hurting. Um, I had found out I had like this degenerative disease. They told me no wonder my neck hurts, because instead of being being this way, I was pushing this way, whatever it was. So there are all these things. I almost had surgery on my neck because they said it would give me maybe a 50% chance of relief. I brought my parents in with me. I was still fairly young, like early 20s. I brought my parents with me for another opinion. I brought my then boyfriend, now my husband, with me. And we didn't feel comfortable with it. And I had a friend that also had a lot of these types of surgeries that said it's just not worth it because you end up with other problems. So I didn't do the surgeries, thankfully. I ended up meeting someone that became a very good friend of mine, and she suffered from fibromyalgia since the time she was a teenager. And I saw her life. Like, we were very close. I saw how this impacted her life, and how just everything about her life was, to me, just seemed like completely different than a normal person's life. She was in pain constantly. She would throw up from her pain. She had all these other issues. Um, and it wasn't me. So I thought. And time went on. I had gotten different injections done. Pain management was giving me every different medication that there was, muscle relaxers, nerve killer, whatever it is. I had been on gabapentin, which was supposed to be like the best, and I didn't think it was working, so I went off of it, and only then did I realize it was working because I was in more pain. So I tried it again, and again, it just wasn't worth it. And the only thing that had ever helped was the real hardcore painkillers. Um, and that's how I was getting by with things, and I would take them as infrequently as possible because I was scared to death of them. I'm getting off topic, aren't I? So one day I'm sitting here, and the TV is on, and there's a commercial for, I think it was Lyrica, which they said could help with fibromyalgia. It was like the first medication to come out like that. And I had seen this commercial a million times, and for whatever reason, I was doing something and like background noise, and yet I heard them say widespread pain and whatever else. And I remember thinking, holy shit, that sounds like me, because in the last couple of years, the doctor would ask, well, what hurts? Or I'd be crying and my husband would say, what hurts? My mom would say, what hurts? And I didn't know how to answer, because my answer in my head was everything, but it doesn't make sense to me. How does everything hurt? It's not possible. Everything can't possibly hurt. Especially knowing my diagnosis or whatever for all these years that had been that I have these herniated discs and degenerative disease and blah, blah, blah. So my pain is in my neck, in my shoulders, and my back, and that's it. Then it started being in my hips to such an extent that I was out in the city one day walking, and my like hips locked up and I couldn't walk anymore because it hurt so bad. Um, I would come home from my normal, very lengthy walks that I love, and instead of just my normal pain, I would feel like pain vibrating throughout my entire body. It would go from like my neck all the way down and from my back into my hips down to my freaking toes, just vibrating in pain, like pain and exhaustion. And I didn't know what to do about it. It was scary. And then I saw this commercial, and that friend of mine and another friend used to tell me, you probably have fibromyalgia. I was like, no, I don't have fibromyalgia. I had these things happen in a car accident. That's not fibromyalgia. Then I saw the commercial and I went, it was like a light bulb over my head, like boop, 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 like you see in the cartoons. It's gotta be. So I went to a rheumatologist and they did all of the blood tests. They did all of the pressure point tests. Woo, let me tell you, I had no idea that if you push just ever so slightly on my ankles, that I would hit the fucking roof and scream. Had no idea. That had never happened to me before. I went, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that I had that. And after they do all the blood tests and they rule out all of the other major things like MS and lupus and Lyme disease and all that stuff, basically that's when they tell you it's fibromyalgia. And at first I was very excited to find out that it would be fibromyalgia. And I remember my dad looking at me like scared, like he was scared, as if like he knew something that I didn't know. And I didn't know this at the time. I just felt bad that like, oh, my dad looked scared when I told him this. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm hoping that that's what the prognosis is. Like, I hope they tell me it's fibromyalgia, because then at least we know what it is and maybe we could do something about it. Cut to, you can't really do anything about it. You just kind of figure out what works for you. Every day is different. I've gone through at least 20 different medications. The laws have changed on the hardcore medications. I'm going to do another episode on that because that's just its own episode, is medications. But I mean, this has taken a lot from me. Little by little, it's taken a lot. I was dancing all the time. I thought I got this because I stopped dancing. I stopped dancing because I was in pain. I stopped being able to walk 100 blocks in New York City. I could no longer do 100 blocks. I could no longer do 50 blocks. And as time went on, it was less and less blocks, to now it's about a block before I have to pause and catch my breath or bend over or squat down or do whatever it is that's going to relieve the pain from wherever it's coming from in that moment. So it's super frustrating. Like, I used to have a very active life and now I don't. I have to come to terms with that. I'm going to do an episode on that as well. Speaking of like fibrofog things, which is one of the symptoms, I don't think I've ever introduced myself in any of these videos, and here we are like 50 videos in. My name is Star. I am from Brooklyn, New York, currently in Staten Island, all part of New York City. When I say the city, I mean Manhattan, for those of you that are not in the area. How old am I? I'm not 80. I feel 80. Not right now, actually. I'm okay right now. I feel 80 most of the time. I'm half of that. I won't say the number, but that's what I'm going to go with. I am half of that. And I know people say, oh, once you hit your 30s and a little more, oh, you're back and you're this and you're that. And it's like normal aging. This isn't normal. I can't stand up for more than X amount of minutes, whatever it is. Like, I can't. I have a friend that is so amazing. She's older than me and she's running freaking full-on marathons. This isn't normal aging. This is the product of a chronic illness, and it is frustrating, and I'm here. So if you guys want to ask questions, I will do my best to answer. If you have advice for me, I would love to hear it and be open about it. So, yeah, there we are. Happy Fibro.